I've always been like a fan of like superhero stuff as a kid, but like I really leaned heavily into music. But like I also grew up on like Kiss and Motley Crue and stuff like
Oh,
that. So
nice.
like Alice Cooper was a big thing when I was a kid. So that theatrical aspect had always been part of my life. But I was into music forever and ever, and then I hit a point where I was majoring in music. I was going to school for it, and I was really close to finishing my degree. But at the time, my band was kind of like falling apart. The girl I was dating, it was stuff like was terrible there, and like a whole section of my life was like kind of falling apart. And I just kind of cut it off because I was like just randomly reading comics again, and I wanted to get back into them. And I was reading like actually like Miracle Man, and I picked up Sandman at the same time.
Nice.
And like the Invisibles, those were like the three that like got my attention because I wanted something different outside the like superhero stuff when you're going searching for those things. And that's what kind of spearheaded me into like Shade the Changing Man too. When I was
just finished rereading that entire run. And
dude, I'm actually on a reread of it right now.
Are you really? That's so funny. I literally just finished a month ago.
And nobody knows about that series either.
It's so good.
Off the
gets
charts.
It gets a little lost after issue 50 for a little while, but
oh yeah.
But then it gets on track right to end the series in a good way. But like it's good though. It's really
I'm not even familiar like that. Like that's how like I guess if you know kind of one of those things.
Oh geez.
I don't know.
Johnny,
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, early Chris is it Bacalo or Baccello artwork.
Peter Milligan writing.
And Peter Milligan writing it. It's so good. And it's a redo of an old Steve Ditko character.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And he battles madness. Like that's his power. Like he
doesn't really. Yeah. I love that.
And it's great. It gets your attention like right away because it has this like JFK storyline starting off into it, the American Scream, and it's just the most twisted first issue. And this is when Vertigo was doing those like 40-page issue ones. And so like with that and Preacher and all that type of stuff. And so it's packed with just insanity. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I do too.
Preacher was my like first step into like non-superhero comics, I think. You know what I mean? So it's like it's such a like experience when you pick up a book that's just not the super like the indie, not the traditional superhero comic kind of thing, and like it opens a door. It makes you think like, oh, there's more to this, or this is wider than what you expected. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's almost like it makes you. It almost makes you think like, oh, I just underestimated comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That early Vertigo stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like there's like nothing else in comics like it now, even that compares. But like that time, like that whenever they were making massive hits like Sandman, Invisibles, Shade, all that stuff was happening at the same time. Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, all that stuff, you know.
But I think that even like those kind of books are happening. They're just not getting picked up by big companies to give them the right eyeballs. You know what I mean? Like when you look at it, when you look at a lot of Kickstarters and campaigns out there, I mean, that's where you're seeing it. You know, that's where you're seeing it in the modern age, you know, where we would see like, oh, okay, they would strive to be picked up by a publisher, which would then give them the visibility they needed. Now they're empowering themselves, you know, but it's also transformed the process because these awesome indie stories are on the fringes, right? They don't become intrinsically a part of the zeitgeist the way something like The Crow could, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Karen Berger and Shelley Bond just like transformed the landscape by bringing stories that would have never been part of DC into that whole universe, you know, and that's the funnest part. I love that early Vertigo stuff. That's definitely top tier for what I love.
Me too. I'm a big fan of that era, and I was missing it, which is why I bought the entire run of Shade on eBay. Nice. And I was like, I spent $150. I was like, I gotta have this entire run.
Yeah,
worth it. Totally worth it. But like sitting down and rereading it again, I was like, this is so good. I've been missing this kind of comic. You know what I mean? It's really good stuff.
I did something similar with Valiant. Sorry to Harry.
Oh no,
I did something similar with Valiant books. Like I was like, I missed this era and this sect of characters. So went to eBay and I just dropped a little bit of cash and got a little collection of them. Just to like kind of refresh my memory on it.
Yeah.
Strange tales, oddball theories, off-topic stories. It's time for more tangents with Harry.
Speaking of Piss Cat, a long time ago, I did my internship, and they put me to do the internship at Tufts University School of Veterinary Medicine. And I was like working on my computer, and all you could smell was like formaldehyde, because like they would bring all kinds of like animals in with like issues, you know, like Clydesdales with like eating disorders, you know, or you know, camels, you know, with like whatever, one hump, whatever. Smoking up. You know, they're like a bison with cancer.
That's where he.
But anyway, I was working on my computer, and this nurse walked in. She was holding this cat, and she's like, "Hey Harry, like my cat?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." I was like kind of half paying attention. I'm like, "Yeah, sure, yeah." And she's like, "No, look at it." And she like turns around, and this cat had two faces. It was supposed to split into. It was supposed to split into two different cats, but it didn't make it that far. It had two working mouths, three eyes, with the eye in the middle was like in mid split. You know what I mean? It was like,
oh my god!
And it was so scary looking, you know. And I think it's the oldest living, or was, I don't know if they're still with us or if they're still with us, but it's the oldest living Janus cat, which means like
wow.
It's in the Guinness Book of World Records if you look it up, and it had two different names.
Sorry. I laughed so hard this stream. I'm dehydrated.
Sorry.
Harry, you kill me, dude. I love it. Mike, how about you? Do you have anything else that you want to
I'm working on a new book called The Anorexic Clydesdale. Really excited about that.
It was so scary. It was like a 10-foot tall horse, like with like all skin and bones. It was scary.
It's a horror.
This camel won't stop smoking.
Join us next time for more tangents with Harry.